Hello, hello. Welcome to the PG-ish podcast. I'm Erin with your parental guidance to help you grow yourself as a parent and raise healthy, happy, and successful humans. Hey friend, if you've been on the fence of joining my Weary to Revive class, don't miss out. We start next week. Also, have you invited your friends to join you as you work through the class? You've probably got a handful of mom friends you know that need some extra love right now. Don't hold out on them or yourself. This course is going to be a challenging yet rewarding journey, and when you start dissecting and rebuilding your life, you're gonna want a buddy by your side. And in the community calls, if you choose that adventure for yourself. Anyway, sign up today via the link in the show notes to join the Weary to Revive class and start feeling good again. Speaking of being weary, I have a great interview to share with you. Shonda Moralis is a mom of two, a psychotherapist, a coach, and an award-winning author helping busy moms create simple, sustainable life balance. She truly believes that you can raise good kids without losing yourself or getting caught up in living in a perpetual hamster wheel, feeling stuck, unfulfilled, and overwhelmed. I'm sure you can relate to the dilemma of letting little things slide. But little by little, a little becomes a lot. And suddenly, you're shocked to find yourself lost in the abyss of overwhelm, struggling with how to make time for yourself and for what really matters. I don't know about you, but sometimes the maintenance side of being a mom, let alone an adult, all seems too much. Since Shonda and I share many values and philosophies, including the belief that when moms thrive, children thrive, together we discuss how to balance your career with motherhood and unravel how to use tools like mindfulness, meditation, and mindful breaks. But before I give too much away, take a listen. Shonda, thank you for joining me today. I love doing these interviews, and so I can't wait to dive in. But before we get to the juicy stuff, I really am curious about people's stories and how they end up where they are. I know that I've pivoted multiple times in my life, and I don't think I'm alone. So can you just give us a little bit more of a background of how you ended up where you are today?
Sure. Yeah. Like you and probably a lot of people, it's kind of a windy road. And when I went to college, I wasn't sure, even when I graduated, what I wanted to do. And so I moved back home to my dismay, and I decided I'm going to get a job doing something I was interested in because I could afford to do that. So I found a job at a local women's center, a health center, and an abortion clinic. And part of that was to do some counseling around choice and health education. And I just really took to that right away. So I always knew I was kind of a helper and a listener. And, so that wasn't surprising, but it really propelled me then to go get my graduate degree and dive into becoming a therapist. And so I have been in private practice for probably, almost 25 years. And then bringing in some mindfulness, which is part of what I specialize in, along with anxiety and stress related disorders. I've been doing some reading about 15 years ago or more about mindfulness. And this was brand new to the vernacular. Mm-hmm. It wasn't common. And I thought, wow, this is really kind of the heart piece of therapy. We talk so much about our thoughts and what's happening in our minds, but not as much as like the body and our hearts. And so it really pulled a lot together for me. So I learned more about that. I took a class on mindfulness-based stress reduction. And I talk about that. At the time, I had just one child. My daughter was 3. And the homework was to meditate for a half an hour every day. And I was very much a recovering perfectionist people pleaser. Like I did my homework, type A, which, is a lot. And people roll their eyes at that. And I understand that. I was really dedicated and I made that happen. And I really noticed changes really quickly. And so I was hooked. But then as I was pregnant with my son, my kids are 10 years apart. So I faithfully meditated for a half an hour a day for a number of years. I really did. And then I was like, I'm no way with the newborn am I going to be meditating for a half an hour or anything close to looking like that. So I was like, how do I keep this in my life in a way that was flexible and practical and help me hang on to my sanity? Mm-hmm. And that's how 5-minute mindfulness practices that I teach was born, because it was out of necessity. And I was teaching it to other moms who, were able to see that with just a minute of our day, we can really transform how things feel from kind of frantic and urgent to more calm and sustainable.
I love that, because I feel like so many people feel like they can't fit it into their day, that they're going to take too much time and it's not going to be beneficial. But truly sitting down for like 5 minutes is helpful.
Exactly. And I'm a huge proponent of 5 minutes is too much. That is perfectly fine. You get up in the morning and you take 3 deep inhales and deep exhales.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee you're going to feel a difference. And we all have time to take 3 deep breaths, even
Yes.
though we feel like we don't.
Just a quick side note. When you started on that mindfulness practice, were you kind of like looked differently upon because it was so new? Like, were you kind of the weird one?
Gosh, I mean, maybe I didn't know it. No. No, I think I was always, I practiced yoga seriously since like
Mm-hmm.
2000. Ashtanga yoga was kind of like coming into vogue. Not really, but again. So I think I kind of surrounded myself with people who were in that world. So I never really felt like, some unicorn.
It helps to be around like-minded people for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's helpful when you have that group that you can grow with and understand and go deeper.
Right.
That's awesome. So yeah, let's dive into some of the juicy stuff. I am surrounded by moms and women who just have definitely been feeling burnt out. And I think this was, prior to the pandemic, which didn't help at all. But I think we all know what it feels like to be burnt out. But for clarity's sake, do you want to kind of dive into what it looks like to be out of balance? Because I know that balance is super imperative to your training. So what does it look like? I'm sure we know what it feels like, but
Yeah, exactly. I mean, out of balance, we can be, anywhere from feeling a little bit out of balance to completely wiped out and burnt out, and there's that whole continuum of what that feels like and looks like. So, something as simple as out of balance, the more we're aware of kind of checking in with, I talk a lot about what's called the triangle of awareness, which is our thoughts, our body sensations, and our emotions. And it's a really good way to kind of check in and just get the kind of the temperature of what's going on with ourselves at any point. So the more aware we are on a regular basis, we can tune into when we feel a little bit out of balance. I mean, we can recognize if we've just, yelled at our kids, or we've had sat down in the bathroom and had just started crying, we know then obviously we're out of balance, but ideally we're being more proactive. And so setting ourselves up with these tiny little habits, shifts in habits, so we aren't feeling that way, and also catching it a little bit sooner so that we can course correct. And when I talk about balance, that's what I mean is this gentle recalibration. That's an ongoing practice, and it can be fun and experimental. It doesn't have to be so rigid, or, people will say there's no such thing as balance, but I think, that's kind of the intention. So for me, when I'm out of balance, I notice I start sighing a little bit more. I'm like, it's something as simple as that, but it's like I'm kind of trying to catch my breath unconsciously, where things just feel more like I have to versus I get to. And when I slip into that place, that's kind of a early cue for me. So it's really starting to notice how does it feel off? When are times in my life when I feel in balance? What are the conditions? And what are times when I feel out of balance? What are the conditions? And what is one tiny action step I can take to shift in that direction? Because we don't want to overwhelm ourselves.
No, we don't. And I think you said something that's important of just like, we recognize the signs when we're super out of balance, right? But just even those little moments that maybe you weren't fully aware of. Recently, my oldest daughter, is now in a different school because she's going to middle school, and just like that drive, there's days where I'm like, it's whatever, like we're just doing this drive. And then other days I'm like, why is everyone going so slow? I'm like,
Exactly.
oh, something's off,
Right.
like internally. Got to slow down, take a breath and just be more aware and kind of tune in, because I've let something slip.
Yep.
So it's that awareness piece, which I think is important for sure. Can we go talk about some remedies then if we notice that shift and we're off? What do we do next?
Right. So a big piece is noticing, and we say name it to tame it, right? So it's sort of just noticing, I'm feeling frustrated, I'm feeling out of balance, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling overwhelmed, whatever that is. Then I would say hands to heart, which is, you can't see me, but I literally placing your hands, and kind of, it reminds us to be kind to ourselves, and it releases a little bit of that oxytocin, that sort of calming, connecting hormone. So, and then notice what we're saying to ourselves about it, because we are so good at judging ourselves. So, am I like, great, what did you do now? What's wrong with you? Why can't you keep it together? Look at, whatever. And we get lost and lost. So just coming back to name it to tame it, a little bit of self-compassion. How would you talk to somebody you care about, a friend or whatever? Like, you're doing a good job. Okay, it's just feeling hard right now in this moment. So it's noticing, naming, and then what is one small step? I keep coming back to that, but we feel very empowered when we can take an action step. And sometimes there's nothing we can do except deliberately accept this is how it is right now and it's hard. Okay. But then we let go of resisting, which is our natural reaction to something that's uncomfortable. If we're feeling like we don't like something, we don't like the traffic, we just tighten up more and we're like, "Grr," and we feed that monster. So accepting, okay, there's some traffic today. And, how do I make the best of this situation?
Mm-hmm.
So there are three types of what I call mindful breaks in what I teach. And mindful breaks really quickly are just these opportunities and reminders to bring our attention back into the present moment and be more deliberate in the middle of our day. So we don't need to go meditate and close our eyes and do that. We can do it in the car, like you're saying. We can do it while we are sitting down to turn our computer on, while we're folding laundry, all kinds of things. And there are three types. There are breathe breaks, they encourage us to be more aware and calm our nervous system down if we need it, and just check in with ourselves. And then there are becoming breaks. And that is if we need a little bit of assertiveness or confidence, or let's say we took on a new project at work and we're feeling like that imposter syndrome show up. That helps us kind of boost ourselves a little bit in there. And then there are balance breaks where it's like, okay, I know I'm a little out of balance here. And how do I kind of recalibrate a little bit? So first of all, it's checking in to notice what we need, because that can really shift moment to moment, the phase of our lives, what's happening, and then offering that up to ourselves. So an example of a breathe break is a coffee mindful break. Super simple. And people love this, which is just bringing your full attention and your senses to drinking your cup of coffee in the morning instead of slugging it back and not even recognizing you've had it at all. Or checking in with that triangle, like I said, a triangle tune in. What is up with my thoughts right now? I'm thinking about what needs to get done today and all that, blah, 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 my to-do list. My body sensations are maybe I feel pressure in my chest and I feel a little swirling in my head. And then my emotions are feeling stressed. So I'm noticing, okay, then I have choice with what to do with that.
Yeah.
An example of becoming break might be something as simple as I have one called the green-eyed monster. And this is one this is pre-COVID, and I had an office, which I gave up during the pandemic. And I put my son on the bus, and I was, rushing out to my car to get to my office in time for my first client of the day. And I had my, my lunch and my briefcase, and I'm hurrying, and I pull out of my driveway and I look over and I see one of my really good friends who's my neighbor across the street. She's strolling with her dog in the sunshine and her cup of coffee. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I want that. Right.
Yeah.
And then I started judging myself. What's wrong with you? Well, she's not just hanging around doing nothing all day long. And what the heck? You like your job. What you love your career. What's up? So, kind of giving it a little bit more thought, I recognized what's underneath here is I just wanted some space in my day, in my calendar, to walk my dog for 5 minutes in the sun with a cup of coffee, right? I was craving that. Life was feeling really busy. So at my lunch break at work, I sat down with my calendar and I deliberately, a few weeks out, because I had to wait that long, set some space in my calendar that I really blocked out for just a little bit of space here, a little bit of space there.
Yeah.
So it's that awareness. Then am I judging? But can I let go of that? What's underneath that? And then what is one step I can take toward that? So, that's a becoming break, because we can get really so stuck in that comparisonitis, which is so easy to do. It looks like everybody else has it going on,
right.
But really, what is it about that? I don't really want her life. There's a piece of that I'm craving, and how can I get some of that?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I loved what you said about scheduling it, because especially moms were so good at just, go, 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 the hustle and grind, that we forget about ourselves, and we forget to kind of fit ourselves in, and it's
Absolutely.
so easy to schedule everything else
except
for ourselves. And I think your breathe method, I think, is super cool, because I love that we have so many pockets during our day that we don't utilize.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not perfect. I end up scrolling, a lot of the time too, but it's like, how can I transform those little pockets that normally I would just maybe scroll or just take them for granted? And how could I really just slow down and tune in?
Right. Exactly. And it's not about, because I am guilty of this as well. I love to get stuff done and maximize it, be efficient. But there's so much power in it's not about how do I utilize every moment so much as how do I just pause and be there for my life. And it is exactly what you're saying. It's those in between ordinary moments. And those are often the moments that when we have kids and we feel the most connected to them. It's like I sit down on the bed at the end of the night with my son and read, and I'm just like, that moment is just my favorite, and it's so ordinary. Or it's remembering like sitting on this ferry and rocking my daughter to sleep when she was like 5 years old or something like that. Like it's those very simple moments.
Yeah.
But coming back to, if I could, that triangle,
Yes.
what I love about that, it helps us with awareness, period. It can also help us with unpleasant moments. I can talk about that, or tough moments, but it helps us notice and savor more of those beautiful moments. So when I'm sitting next to my son on the bed and we're reading our books and I feel his little warm body next to me, I can lock in that moment by thinking, what are my thoughts right now? And I'm thinking, I love this and I wish he would just stay this little forever.
Right.
My body feels relaxed and warm and I just feel all this love in my heart and happiness and I'm just so content. Any point I can think about that memory and I can literally experience those body sensations and those emotions again, which is so powerful. So, I just love that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, I love that feeling part because I think a lot of society today is kind of robotic. It is that hustle and grind, and we forget to feel. And so when we really can feel into those moments and ingrain them in our memories, exactly what you're saying, it's like you can go back to that and it can be that calming, peaceful moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love for you to touch upon a little bit more, going back to the balance of finding values and setting those priorities, because I truly believe in values and having kind of that North Star to direct you. How do you use that in your practice?
Yeah. So my 4 values that I've landed on are slow, and that was actually something I misheard. I thought somebody told me their value. This was years ago. She said flow, and I thought she said slow, and I was like, oh, I need that one. I'm gonna like take that one. And then later on, she's like, no, I said flow. And I was like, oh, well, I heard slow and I really needed to hear that. So anyway, I've used that. Slow, love, nature, and growth. And, and the beautiful thing about values is we can really kind of encompass what we feel it goes under love, goes under growth. It's all about what guides us individually. So those are my values. And I use that as decision-making, number one, with work. When I'm an entrepreneur, when projects come my way or events, I almost always will say I need at least 24 hours to sleep on things, because I'm one of those like, sure, that sounds amazing. And then I'm like, oh, why did I say yes to that? I overcommitted again.
Yeah.
So I've really gotten good with that. But also I filter that through my values. Does this support my values and how it really feels it resonates for me?
Yeah.
And how we spend our time as a family and taking care of myself, individually as a woman, as a mom, anything really. I just filter any of those decisions through those values. Or if it's a parenting decision, when does my son get a phone? He's just about to be 11. He's been asking for,
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
These practices are so great with kids, even values. It's like starting them young to talk about their values and the foundation, and then moving forward of just like learning how to pause and slow down and check in with your body. I mean, I think this is so important for parents as individuals, but also to teach to their kids. Have you seen that practice? I mean, with your own kids, but with others?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And, people will ask me too, when can you start teaching your kids? Have you indoctrinated your kids?
Yeah.
My son's a little more resistant than my daughter was, but, and I certainly just try to, let them guide that, but they pick it up. Right. And we model that for sure.
For sure.
There was research done where parents were taught mindfulness meditation for a year. Their kids did 0 practice directly, and the kids improved their behavior, their social emotional learning and so forth. So it definitely, trickles down. And I think what's huge, one of the most huge things for kids is, number one, emotional regulation. It can help us teach them that, to recognize what they're feeling and to be able to calm themselves down and use their words. We're telling them to calm down and use their words. This actually teaches them how. And also decision making, especially as we have these kids who are going into tweens and teens. And it's like, really noticing your body sensations as cues for decision making. Like, oh, my stomach feels a little funny. That I need to pay attention to that. That's there for a reason.
Sure. I love that. No, that's so good. I think that's kind of the premise of PG-ish as well. It's like, our kids are going to mirror us whether we like it or not. So what are we doing to improve ourselves that they are just going to catch? A lot of these tools aren't easily taught, although they can be, but they're always watching. So when we're improving ourselves, they're going to improve.
Yeah. And having said that, I'm sure what you see and I come across all the time, especially with moms, is we're so hard on ourselves and we hold ourselves to such high standards. So it's sort of like, we have to be also at the same time, I say good enough is great, because when we are really doing good enough parenting, then we're in a really good place most of the time. So we have to be careful that we're not, I guess, holding ourselves to such a high expectation and standard that then we just, that's counterproductive.
No, I agree. I mean, one of your taglines is playing big without burning out. And I think that good enough plays into that so well, because we don't have to do it all. And we can take those moments to pause for sure.
Yes. And we need to. It'll help us actually. We'll be more efficient that way.
Yes, absolutely. Do you want to share a little bit about your books?
Yeah, sure. So I wrote both of these books meant to be picked up and read in very short bite-sized pieces, right? Perfect. Because they're mindful breaks. So there are, I believe, 60 in Breathe Mama Breathe, 5-minute mindfulness for busy moms. That's the first book. And that's geared more toward moms of little ones. It does talk about all the way up to your teen driver and kind of teenagers, but often for moms of little ones. And then Don't Forget to Breathe, 5-minute mindfulness for busy women. It's for all women, and it comes back to those breathe, becoming, and balance breaks. And that's more about just recalibrating this life balance ongoing. I see that as if we continue to pull out these practices, we can use them in what I call an upward spiral of growth in our lives, which is just we continue to grow in this very aware, deliberate, intentional way. But they are meant to be picked up and read in little bite-sized pieces. And what some women will say to me, like, I keep it in the bathroom. And I'm like, that's fine. You don't have to confess that. That's a perfect place for it. Because then, that's the only place you maybe won't be interrupted, but
right.
No guarantees.
That's too funny. And I think, even that example, it's like, if you're just reading in the bathroom, you're creating a habit. So, habits help us stick to these tools of being mindful. So whatever's helpful.
Supports that. Yes. Yeah.
Just one more thing that I would love to touch upon, because I know that you're an entrepreneur, working mom. How do these mindful breaks, meditation, all of it help in the business world? Because I always consider, I manage a team at work, and I kind of consider them my kids. Like, my kids are just younger, but it's like, it's all just managing people.
Right.
So how does this help in the working world?
Yeah, well, it helps us as leaders because we are managing ourselves first. And that's, we have to be able to come to, first of all, have that awareness of where am I being reactive? How best can I choose my responses? And then it helps us tune into other people. So it's this mindful communication ongoing of how am I more direct and assertive rather than passive or aggressive? It's knowing ourselves and directly communicating and offering up and modeling that, teaching even maybe explicitly our team. It helps us, again, tune in and recognize what is the top priority, because we can get so into the weeds or putting out fires all the time. Yeah. And it's really like, hold on, let me just pause here. And what absolutely, like, it helps us triage what needs to be addressed first.
Yeah.
So many facets to it. And, if we are interrupting this stress cycle that we're in a lot of the time, we have more energy. We have more creative thought. That front part of our brain that works when we're more calm helps us be more innovative, creative. It helps us, choose our response when our toddler's having a tantrum, or when our employee's having a tantrum or a meltdown or something too, right?
Yeah.
So same thing.
Yeah. No, that's great. I do notice that, just kind of the generational gap with some team members. They probably haven't been around a lot of this stuff, and they're just starting their career. So it's like, how can I model that? So yeah, it's super helpful. Well, as we wrap up, where can folks find you?
Yeah, so my website is shondamoralis.net. And if you head there, I will offer up a free 5-minute guided meditation, an audio download. There's a guided coffee mindful break, a mindful log to track your practice. I have, we talked about this before in the green room, a Breathe Mama Breathe book club guide. So I have a whole lot of free resources that you can pick up. But I always say, if you can just start with 1 or 5 minutes of meditation each day, carve that out somewhere for yourself and choose one mindful break to start. And that is such a powerful combination. And I really believe even the busiest of us working moms can do that. And you'll really notice a difference, and your kids will too.
Yeah. Thank you for that reminder. I think we do get bogged down of like, oh, I have to do all these things, check all these boxes just to be mindful. It's like, no, just
keep it simple. Definitely. Yes.
Just pause and breathe. Yep. No, that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Shonda. And I'm definitely going to go pick up your books, start a book club, all of it. I think we all need this in our lives, especially mamas, and this time of year when it's so busy. So Yeah, thank you for all of your tips. This has been great.
Oh, thanks, Erin. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, Mama, I hope you have some new tools in your tool belt and will be more mindful this week, filling those pockets of time to cover yourself in love and care. To learn more about Shonda or to grab one of her books, head to the show notes. If today's episode struck a chord, please let me know. You can email me at hello@pjishparenting.com, or you can send me a DM on Instagram at pjishparenting. Please also share this episode with another weary mom friend so that more parents can grow alongside their kiddo like you. Sending you much love. See you next time.